LoreWarrior Armour. Epona Pursuit Tank. Overview. Clan Hell's horses maintain a high regard for the usefulness of conventional forces, and as such are the only clan to manufacture and deploy the Epona. Other clans consider the pod technology wasted on such a conventional vehicle, but the horses who regularly use vehicles in frontline roles have enjoyed the benefits of the flexibility of this design for more than 70 years. Though the success of the Epona might have been expected to prompt the design and production of more Omni vehicles, the clan-wide bias toward battle-mech supremacy even amongst the horses prevents expansion of this concept. The Epona remains the only vehicle of its kind in use among the clans. Capabilities. Based on the heaviest hover tank chassis possible in order to achieve maximum speed potential and structural integrity, the Epona is purpose-built as a recon and pursuit craft, very similar in design to the Dragoon's Bandit hovercraft, which is itself likely an offshoot of the Epona. The major difference between the two is that the Epona mounts roughly half the armour of the Bandit, but does carry more than double the pod space. The primary configuration of the Epona reflects the favoured attack mode of Clan Hell's horses, by employing an effective mix of pulse lasers and SRM. The next most common Epona configuration features twin turret-mounted LRM-20s, supported by a pair of forward, fixed extended-ranged medium lasers. Apparently, meant as a heavy artillery unit, this version also features target acquisition gear to spot for even heavier artillery units after first softening them up with their own weapons. The B and C configurations favour engagements in relatively open terrain, featuring a single massive weapon backed up by short-range missiles. The C configuration also adds an ECM array and tag. The modular technology that makes these variations possible does create one minor problem for the crew. The roles of driver, gunner and commander, usually specialised in other vehicles, become less distinct in the Epona, as each crew member's duties can change with the weapon's load. For this reason, the controls at each station in this vehicle are easily programmable for all possible tasks to make transitions between the roles easier. Still, new crews must drill for weeks in the proper use of an Epona before they take it into the field. Deployment. Hell's Horses is the only clan to use the Epona. Despite its relatively long career in service, as with Omnimex, Eponas are considered frontline units meant for the most elite of warriors and are concentrated in the clan's primary galaxies. So that's a 50-ton hover vehicle. Its power plant is a Fusion 215, its cruise speed is 97 kph, and its flanking speed is 150 kph. Its armour is compound VM20 ferrofibrous. Armament is 17 tons of pod space, maximum of 10 ton in the turret, manufactured by Niles Industraplex Alpha. Its communication system is the Build 1700/5 Tacticom, and its targeting and tracking is the Series XL FWS. This translates into a vehicle that can move 9 by cruise and flank 14. It has 10 heatsinks to keep everything nice and cool. Its armour is 21 on the front, 20 on each side, 18 on the rear, and 17 on the turret, which is pretty decent for what it is. An Omni vehicle though, so quite interesting. Visually, quite like the look of it. It's the quad barrels there looking quite mean on the turret with the missile configuration on the top. Again, extremely distinct and unique. I would have to look it up again. I don't know if it has much visual similarity to something like the Bandit, but I do like the idea that they, retcon the idea that this is the vehicle that the Bandit is most likely based off. Makes perfect sense for the Dragoons to have taken something that already exists and making their own version of it, or something that can be produced within the Inner Sphere without too much effort. So it's a nice touch there, and it's also the fact that it's highlighting the fact that Hell's Horses as a clan are more about combined arms tactics, and this is one of their more common units, which is a nice touch because it gives them something a bit more unique. So primary configuration, which is what you can see the artwork, is quad medium pulse lasers in the turret with a Streak SRM4, the ammo located in the body, 25 shots, with an extra 6 heat sinks to keep everything under control. Configuration A is a pair of LRM-20s, as it said, with 1 ton of ammo each. The missiles are located in the turret with the ammo in the body, and 2 ER medium lasers located in the front with tag. B configuration is an Ultra AC-10 in the turret with 20 shots, and it has 2 Streak 4s that are front mounted with a single ton of ammo split between those. And finally, the C configuration is an ER-PPC in the turret with a Streak SRM-6 in the turret, with 1 ton of ammo located in the body, an extra 5 heat sinks for the heat generated, and it has ECM and TAG. So overall, not a bad vehicle, quite multifunctional, if you would be so bold as to agree there. I like it. It still suffers all the drawbacks that hover vehicles have naturally, is that they're more likely to suffer more crippling motive damage, which means it's a bit of a high-risk, high-reward vehicle, which I think fits the clans. The clans are definitely a bit more brash in the sense of how they approach. They obviously try to get in, do all of the damage as quickly as possible, and try to take as little in return. It definitely plays into the idea of a lot of clan vehicles, and some of their mechs, not being as heavily armoured, but certainly being more armed. So, yeah, the Epona could go into a fight with something of a similar tonnage in terms of vehicles, and probably deal out a lot of damage, but whether it can necessarily take a lot more in return fire. It's a vehicle that doesn't travel particularly quick. At 50 ton, there are other hover vehicles, obviously, naturally, can run rings around this vehicle. Even though 9 and 14 sounds like a lot, there are some hover vehicles in a similar weight bracket that can move a lot quicker. They just carry less weaponry, of course. So it's a case of survivability over the firepower aspect. Obviously, the primary version is very good in the sense once you get into that medium range of it, being able to hit with those 4 medium pulses is going to be quite nasty. The Streak 4 guaranteed to hit with all its missiles if you roll to hit on that one. And yeah, the extra heat sinks definitely making sure that you're not going to overheat the vehicle, which can't happen anyway, so that's pretty good. Very nasty in its default configuration. The LRM one is really nasty. Like a 50-ton vehicle that's sporting 40 LRMs is brutal. A star of these things could easily make up for the LRM carrier role, for instance, virtually the same. It dropped 120, but hey, these things can actually, run away when something tries to give chase. But the ability to dump 40 LRMs for 12 turns is pretty fecking good. You imagine a couple of these in a star, 3 of them in a star, that's a lot of missiles each turn on a target. So yeah, that's not too bad. And taking into account the average gunnery of obviously clan vehicle crews is higher than inner sphere crews, which means they're more likely to hit. And the only thing that it's really missing is if it had some kind of Artemis fire control, which would obviously increase the number of missiles per turn. But yeah, overall not bad. I do like the vehicle. I like the setup of it. Nice little bit of background in the history there, or where the vehicle came from. Yeah, visual, that's quite cool. So yeah, that's the Epona, my little Epona. There we go. So yeah, as always, I'll leave you there with that one, out in the cold, naked and afraid, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.